Haha! Hello and welcome to yet another installment of Horror Vision 2020 Safer at Home Edition. Hope you're all hanging in there. Me and Tommy are doing okay. Going a little cuckoo. Green screen again, but this is, keeping me busy. Hope we're keeping you guys busy, and we'll keep throwing these at you. And today, I'm honored and privileged enough to bring you a friend, an actor, writer, director, producer, distributor, a jack of all trades, Tom Malloy. I can't wait for you guys to sink your teeth into his knowledge, because if you are an inspiring artist in this field that we all love so much, he has a lot of great stuff to tell you guys in this upcoming interview. So I look forward to you listening to him. I also put his links in the description when we post this. And get ready and tune in and tune up to Tom Malloy. Let's jump right in, like this about those movies, Again, this is Horror Vision 2020. We got Tom Malloy on the end of the video here, and he's an actor, writer, producer, awesome dude. I'm so glad to know you personally, man. You're an awesome man. And you are also I'm going to bring up a few of your films. Yeah. You are also the writer of as well. Let's start with Alphabet Killer, which you wrote, and Rob Schmidt.
That's a good movie. With
Rob Schmidt.
I can't say her name right. How do you say her name?
Eliza.
Okay, Eliza.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Carrie Elwes is in it. Tim Hutton. Rob Schmidt directed it, and he directed Wrong Turn. Mm-hmm. Which is, I love that movie. It's just like the perfect amount of.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
It is. But talk a little bit about that one. We'll start with Alphabet Killer.
Well, Rob had he was up for the director of The Attic, which was the movie I did right before. That was the first film that I produced and raised money for, and The Alphabet Killer was an idea that I had because I have family in upstate New York in Rochester, and it's true. It's an unsolved murder that's still around, called the double initial killing. And
I didn't know that. I'm a huge fan of serial killer stuff.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I read a ton of true crime. It maybe not smart to say you're a fan of serial killers.
Okay, but, I'm a fan of the profilers. Let's put it that way. I love the FBI profilers.
Well, me too. I mean, I like reading cold cases, especially, like Jack the Ripper stuff. I've done research on that, and, some stuff that's a long time ago. But the double initial killings was, my mother-in-law had suggested post making my movie The Attic. I said, I want do another horror movie. And she said, well, there's this unsolved murder in Rochester from the 70s. And it was called the double initial killings. And I feel I was the first person that called it the Alphabet Killer, because there was more than two initials. Like Wanda Walkowicz was buried in Webster. So there's three. And then Carmen Colon was in Churchville, and Michelle Manza was in Macedon. That's where they found her body. So I was like, there's more there's more than a double initials. Yeah. And so anyway, I basically got the story, got all the details, and wrote a script that was very true to the story set in the time period and all that. And then Rob came in, and now, funny enough, like I said, he was up to direct The Attic, but he had something else going on at the time. But I reached out to him to find an editor, because I was a fan of Wrong Turn, and I emailed him. I said, hey, listen, could you tell me who's your editor of Wrong Turn, if you could get his contact information, because I was a fan. And he said, here's the guy's name. And he said, by the way, I was a real fan of The Attic, the script. He says, I really loved it. I would have loved to do it. And I said, well, I got another script. and then so as I sent him The Alphabet Killer. So he came in, and he was, again, we were just talking about how early on in my career, I wasn't, I was a young producer. You're going back now 13, 14 years. And now I've produced 16 movies. And Alphabet Killer was my second movie. So I didn't have the voice back then. And he just, I'm not saying what he did was wrong, because I love his final product, but he came in and stylized the story, made it present day. And because there was we were getting some of the victims' relatives emailing us, do you want us on one side, some were like, do you want us to contribute? And then other was like, how dare you make a story about our family? I'm getting emails like this. And with all of them, I'm like, the story has nothing, all we're doing is the double initials. That's the only thing that's similar. There really is not much similarities, little teeny bits here and there. So, but my initial idea with the head detective, Eliza, having schizophrenia, because I just thought, who better to deal with initials and letters, because if you have schizophrenia, as opposed to multiple personality disorder, that's completely different. Schizophrenia means, mixed up kind of brain, and they have obsessions with numbers and letters. So I thought, well, that'd be cool. Have a detective that has an insight that was just much, much deeper than somebody without schizophrenia would, but she's battling to try to, stay coherent and also solve this case. And that was the idea that I had for the movie. So,
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So what is Screamers? Screamers. I was thinking Screamers of the old, like, like
yeah.
80s
96.
with the
It was 96.
robot things. I said Screamers.
Yeah.
So what is Screamers?
So what happened with that is, I was, I had the horror movie Alpha Killer had come out 2009 or so. And, we had a great cast and we had great premiere and, Anchor Bay, that was their first theatrical release.
Oh, I love Anchor Bay. They're from Michigan. That's why.
Yeah, and they're not. But now they're. I think Starz owns them now, but there's no more Anchor Bay. But so anyway, a huge period had gone by, maybe 5-6 years, and I didn't have. I always tell this story to people when they talk about putting a movie together, and kind of going with the energy. And what happened was I was at a haunted hayride with my daughter, and she loves all things horror like me. And she loves to be scared. She loves roller coasters. I mean, like, same here. Like, I love all that stuff. Yeah. And so we were at a haunted hayride, and she was only like, 9, and she was so excited to go on it. And we were in line, and we're watching, the guy with the chainsaw that doesn't have the chain on it coming up and scaring the crap out of people, and they're screaming and then laughing. And I just felt, and now, mind you, let me back up and say I probably had about 4 or 5 films in development, none of which were horror movies. And I just felt this swell of energy, and remembered how cool the fans were and how fun it was to make a horror movie. And I posted on Facebook, I just decided right now I'm making another horror movie. Who's in? And normally I'll put a post on Facebook, I get 100 likes or something. This had like 400, and it had maybe 300 comments. So it was like, oh, wow. And big people like Eliza, comments, yeah, I'm in, And so that just goes to show that was mid-October. So maybe October, say 15th or so. I had the funding within a month. I got it funded at the AFM in November, and we were shooting in February. So to go from not even an idea, all I thought of was like, I want to make some type of horror movie, to shooting in February. That just goes to show when you follow the energy of the universe, so to speak, that's things happen, and that's what happened.
We talk about that all the time. That's been going through a shift of things, and that's what I've been doing is following those things. Never done that before. I always fought against it.
No, which is never going to get you anywhere. But fighting is the worst thing you can do. But going with the flow is the way to say it. I mean, that expression's been around a long time, go with the flow. But if you really look into it deeply, it can mean a lot more than that. But in the case of Screamers, I wanted to make a horror movie that had to do with those things that, the first initial one was a German car commercial where the car drives down the road and you're looking at it and then suddenly it goes like, and it scares you.
I remember that.
And so I wanted to make a movie about those things, and a company that specialized in putting those things on the internet, had made money, kind of inspired by my friend Eric Bauman, who did E-Bombs World. This is pre-YouTube. He was like the top comedy guy as far as comedy videos and scary videos and stuff. And so I took his example and I thought, what if you had this company that specialized in that and then started getting these weird ones and then just decided that it'd be cool to try to investigate and find out where they're coming from, and then shit just happens, And then that was my thing with that movie. Also, I'll say it's inspired by the movie Catfish, because Catfish, the trailer, when it first came out, looked like a horror movie. And I was like drooling, I always drool at great horror trailers. And it's unfortunate when the movie doesn't pay off. And in that case, it didn't pay off at all. It wasn't a scary movie at all. But if you watch the initial trailers, it made it almost portray it like a horror movie. And so I thought, well, what if it's the same kind of thing? But when you get to the barn, so to speak, then everybody gets killed. That was where it came from.
That's always good.
Yeah.
I do that. I love to kill Jim. I love to kill Jim in my movies.
Yeah, it's a fun guy to kill. Fun guy to kill.
Maybe you'll get a chance one day, Tom.
Yes, it's been a dream of mine since we met you.
Awesome. That's the only reason you're still friends, right?
Exactly. Like one day, I'm going to kill him on camera.
Don't worry. He just wants to wear your skin for his birthday, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that got weird. But no, being killed is super fun. One of my highlights is I was killed by Elizabeth Moss. That was fun. Yeah,
awesome.
that was in the attic, right?
Yeah, she sliced my neck open, and my fun story about that is, it was like they put the tube here, a little piece of red, and then they build the neck around you, and there's a little slit that's glued together with a very light glue. So when she does the knife, which is a dull knife, I just pull back, which opens it, and then the tube that's off camera starts to spurt blood out, and that's how it happened. Yep. So it was everywhere, in every freaking crevice, and it was like, you get all this coverage. I go back, and we were all staying in this house, and you know, that blood is gross. You've all experienced this, and but sugary. But anyway, it's great. And so I shower it off, 40 minutes or so in the shower, getting every piece off, and I come out, and there's a PA there with like a look on their face, like looking down. I go, oh no, what? And they're like, we need another shot. And I was like, oh shit. And so literally they had to put all the blood. They forgot some kind of shot. I don't even remember what the hell the shot was. And they put it all back on me again. And so.
Oh yeah.
But I guess there's worse jobs in life, you know. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the blood spattering. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. You know, another thing I'll tell another fun story from there was it was close to the last day, and it was a moment where Elizabeth Moss blows her brains out, right? And the special effects guy has gone on to big things. Anthony Pepe was his name. I forgot what he was working on some TV show now, big TV show. And so she's got the gun here, and Fangoria was on set. Not Tony Timpone, who's my friend Michael Gingold, who
I know Tony. I know Michael. I'm better friends with Tony, but yeah.
I love them both. Both great guys. Michael's head of Rue Morgue now, but anyway, he was there. And and the set was very tense that day. And we were in a house. And so what it was Elizabeth was going to blow her brains out. Special effects guy sitting behind her facing the other wall. And he's got this like tube with chicken and blood in there, you know, fake blood. And with a CO2 cartridge that he pulls, and then that shoots it up, right? So that's in 1, 2, 3. And so you just see. And it was a low angle so that you could see the ceiling up there. So we had really one shot. If we didn't get it, we had to clean and then paint the ceiling, and then and then do it again. So that would have been a pain in the ass. And so Elizabeth is there, and we're about to shoot, and again, it's very stressful. And Fangoria is there to watch this and capture this, and the cameras are rolling. And right before we're about to shoot, I realized something was wrong, right? And this is one of those moments on set where, even though I was the producer, like I said, I was the young guy, just came in, and I was going to say something, and then it went all through me, like, if I say something and I'm wrong, and there's like a simple answer, like, no, Tom, you idiot, I would have looked like the biggest moron. But I said, wait, and everybody turned to me. Mary Lampert, this is the director of Pet Sematary. You got John Savage, famous character actor. Everybody turned to me like, who the F just interrupted this scene? And they were rolling. They were just about to roll. And I said, wait. Everybody looked at me. And I go, there's no entry wound on her neck. I said, when she falls, you're going to see there's no bullet hole. And Mary turned to Tony like, is he right? And Tony, the special effects guy, goes, yeah, he's right. And I was like, yes! And then, of course, everybody's hugging me like, oh, yeah. And if you see the movie, when
could have gone either way. Could have gone either way.
Totally. When you see, so what he did, he put a little red hole here, and then she covered it with the gun. Yeah. So when you see the movie, when she goes, she falls, and as she falls, you could see the bullet hole right there. And if she didn't, we would have had to VFX it, or we would have had to just not have it there. And so I saved the day, but it was one of those moments where like, oh God. And thankfully I made the right call to say something.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Absolutely. What else do you have going on? I mean, is there any projects that you were doing that you were about to do that got kind of derailed with the whole coronavirus thing?
Well, keeping it horror movie, no, not specifically horror movie. I have 2
action. Oh, you don't have to talk about horror movie. We're doing all kinds of people.
Oh, okay.
So go right ahead. Talk about what you're working on.
Well, great. I have a dance film romantic comedy that we were putting together. And because I had done a dance film romantic comedy, which was called Love and Dancing, and it was me and Amy Smart, Betty White. I got to dance with Betty White in that movie, which
awesome.
That was my career highlight.
Yes.
And funny enough, I used to teach ballroom dancing. A lot of people don't know that about me, and so yeah. And so I have a ballroom dancing. Is
that your special skills? That's what you have done.
Well, yeah, that's the joke. Is that I've been doing jiu-jitsu for so many years, so there's like people that know me on the jiu-jitsu side, and then people are like, "Wait, you dance?" And the joke is, like, the dance people don't know the jiu-jitsu side, and the jiu-jitsu people don't know the dance side. But they're so similar. Learning, I tell anybody that learns martial arts, you can learn dancing because it's just learning a set of motions. That's all it is. And
when I hire stunt people, I don't hire martial artists. I hire dancers because they're stronger.
Yeah, they're stronger. Yes,
faster.
Stronger cores a lot of times, and they can follow instruction.
Because they understand the choreo. Yeah.
So,
sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean.
No, it's okay. And so it was the co-lead with Amy Smart, and now I'll tell you that the movies that I'm developing is not, I never did. I got into this business, let's say, as an actor. I started a movie called Gravesend back in 1998, I believe. And we shot it on the streets of Brooklyn. We would go up to a street corner and there'd be a gang of thugs. And we'd be like, you guys want to shoot a fight scene? They'd be like, yeah, all right. And then like big fights would break out every night. Like it was horrible. But then when we were done, the movie was in theaters and Oliver Stone put his name on it. So it was Oliver Stone Presents. Wow. And I was like the second biggest role, right? I'm a kid. I was 19. And so I thought that I was going to never have to work as, you know, outside of being an actor again. I thought the mailbox would be full of scripts. Right. And I would get great auditions, but I would lose them to Ryan Felipe and lose them to Scott Wolf. I remember that asshole beating me. He's probably the nicest guy, but I've never met him. But they would lose roles to more established stars. And so that's when I decided to learn every aspect of movie making. And that's really kind of now I trailblaze the whole actor, writer, producer thing. And now everybody's doing it. And that's why whatever success that I have is people coming back and me teaching that, you know, I have my bankroll book about financing movie. I have my filmmaking membership site, filmmakingstuffhq.com, where I teach movie making. But initially it was always actor, writer, producer, it was a means to an end. But at the end of the day, I've always said you have to bring it. You know, it's like if I did The Attic and it was Elizabeth Moss and John Savage and I was the weak link, it'd be like, and that happens a lot when people put the project together. You go, oh yeah, is that the guy that financed it or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, because you could clearly see the bad actors. So I knew I had to be better than them or at least as good. And that's what so I really focused on that. So the reason I'm saying all this is because now as I've moved more into a producer role, I love acting. I'll always do it. But I'm not just developing projects that have me in it. The dance movie does. And so that it was me and Mina Suvari had signed on to be the female. And then, well, unfortunately, there's nothing going on with the movie right now. So that we kind of had to put on pause. But the other films, I have a high school-based action film and I have a female vigilante action flick that I have a graphic novel. Yeah, it's awesome. It's called Badass Girls. And so I don't have any role or anything in those. I mean, if at the end of the day, if we're getting to the point and there's a funny, you know, small supporting role, sure, I'll jump in, but that's not the goal with a lot of the stuff I've developed.
So have you ever done any crowdfunding?
No, you know, look, I don't want to ever say that I'm against it, but what I have said in a lot of my teaching is like I don't specialize in the crowdfunding aspect of it because I don't, with the crowdfunding, the way it's successful is if you have a huge audience, you know, it's like, to me, you have to have that huge audience or else what it becomes is almost like a, what do they call that stuff? Like Cutco or, is that it? Or
the cutlery that the kids, the
where you're just leeching off your family and friends. You know what I mean? It's like, if people have done it to me, hey, can you invest money in this? It's like, dude, like that's not my value. It's not putting $10 in your Kickstarter. My value is all the other stuff I can give you. Yeah. And so I always felt that if the work you have to put in, and they are effective, you know, if you really put the work in. But to me, it was like the work you have to put in to raise $50,000. I'd rather put that work into going against, you know, James Lewis, who's worth $20 million, and working to get $50,000 from James Lewis as an investment. Then
hey, how come you have all this money? You didn't tell me how. Sorry, go ahead.
He's a rich MF, but no, I'm and you know, look, I've raised. That's kind of my claim to fame. I've raised over $25 million for financing movies, and you know and that's what I teach. All those courses on Filmmaking Stuff HQ. It's like how to raise money, how to close investors, how to pitch.
You're my new best friend, dude.
How to put the business plan together, but it's all those aspects of it. So the crowdfunding, like I said, it works and it gives awareness of the movie. So there's definitely positives there, but you have to have a big audience. You know, the people that have been successful, Zach Braff, Spike Lee, they had big ass audiences to begin with, or bestsellers that are going on there. But if it's you just reaching out there, like I said, I'd rather spend my time and effort on trying to close one investor and keep one investor happy than trying to, you know.
Yeah. I was successful before any of the stars started getting it.
Yeah.
You know, right when it was very
flooded.
It was
it's another problem.
Yeah, but now it's really hard unless I know a couple people that have their formulas that they do, and they do very well. Their movies are smaller.
Yeah.
But they work, and it's because of their audience. Exactly.
Yeah, that's it. It's the audience base. But, you know, look at early on, there was a movie called Absentia that my friend Morgan Peter Brown was one of the producers on. Yeah, well, the reason I bring it up actually.
Was it a TV show? Wasn't it a TV
No, I don't know if it was made into a TV show, but it was a great little horror.
Okay.
The director was Mike Flanagan, who's gone on to be, you know, he's huge. I mean, he did Oculus, he did Dr. Sleep, which just came out. he did the Netflix show, the haunted,
Haunted
whatever that
House,
he's huge.
yeah.
House on Haunting Hill. Oh yeah, Kurtzman did the special effects.
So he's gigantic. But what's cool about that is, so I wrote this book called Bankroll. The first edition came out in 2008. Second edition came out in 2012. Then they asked me to do a third edition, but I decided to do it online, and I'm happy because you can always change and add stuff to online. You know, like I always felt by the time because a book through a publisher take about a year and a half to come out. So I always felt by the time the book came out, it was like, well, that's not even applicable anymore. Things are changing so quick. But anyway, Morgan Peter Brown, one of the producers of Absentia, read my book and then funded this movie through crowdfunding and investments from the techniques that I taught him. And that was Mike Flanagan's first movie, which I said email because I was tipping the story there, is that I have old emails from him saying like, hey man, if you ever need a director, I'm looking for stuff. And I laugh at that because it's like, I would email him now and he'd be like, yeah, right, get away from me. But actually he's a nice guy. But what I'm saying is that it's always cool to see that, like, you know, they read the book and then led to this. So that was always a cool feeling. Yeah, well, it's nice that you're an inspiration, especially to young up and coming filmmakers, because that's part of what we like to do here is raise people up. Yes, and that's, always. That's what I do. I like help young filmmakers. What? Yeah, that's John Cassavetes, right? So
that's God, it is.
And that's my, idol who basically created indie film in the U.S. by just shooting, in this room, and let's put more lights in here. But he says right there, this is the quote, and that wasn't, I took a picture of him, blew it up, and then I put his quote on that picture, which is, I like to act in films, I like to shoot them, I like to direct them, I like to be around them, I like the feel of it, and it's something I respect. It doesn't make any difference whether it's a crappy film or a good film. Anyone who can make a film, I already love. And that's like one of my mottos that I read.
Awesome. I love that.
I read on my live shows and my live webinars and stuff like that, or in public, I read them. And so that's the way I feel about filmmakers.
Oh, yeah. That's the way I feel, too. I've been working with, Stuart Allison at ITN?
Stuart Allison. Yes, he's a friend. Yeah, we've worked on films together. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because I weaseled my way in with him, and I was doing some interviews of his filmmakers.
Yeah.
So I met Jim Ojala with Strange Nature, and Noel G with the Rampage, and a whole bunch of people. Then he has me do the interviews, and they're gonna start posting them.
Great.
Just like of the movies they have coming out. Like
great. Yes, he's doing a ton of that stuff. He does a lot of horror films. And funny enough, he had a funny line that I've used now and given him credit for it. He said this in Cannes. We were walking down the Quasset, and I said, hey, how you doing? He says, well, I think I got a pretty good deal going with Netflix. I said, oh, awesome. And I said, what is it? And he goes, well, $12.99, I can watch whatever I want. And I thought, oh, that's hysterical. I'm like, that's hilarious.
That's it. That's totally him.
Yeah, and it's in that stew kind of like, this guy, right, that's the way he talks.
He acts like that, but he really, truly is a nice man.
He is. He's nice and he's funny. And he's very funny. He's got a very dry sense of humor. So
yeah.
Would he be a direct competitor or somewhat of a competitor to what you do now, though?
100%. And what's funny is that most of the people, what James is alluding to, Tommy, is that I own actually this company, Glasshouse Distribution. I co-own it, and we sell films, and we're at all the markets, and we distribute films. And so, yes, he's a competitor, but at the same time, I can't think of any one, and I really would love to say him and reveal him if I could think of it, but nobody is like, we don't have a bad relationship with it's like friendly competition. It's like, I was just on a call
because all
today,
the other people are gone, because I've gone through all of them. They've screwed me over also, all the way through.
Sooner or later. Yeah.
But that's why I watched, and when I moved here, I reached out to Stuart and to Lisa Romanoff.
Oh, Vision Films. Yeah, Lisa.
Those two had seemed the most established, and I haven't heard too many getting screwed over by stories by them. So I reached out, and I wanted to start working with them because coming out here, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just started just what you said, following, following what I was gonna go do. And I thought it was just going to be work at special effects houses because I do effects too.
If you've ever been on a horror set, it's like the most fun.
Yeah, the best days are the gore days and the monsters.
Hell yeah. And you can cut somebody up and make it look awesome.
Anything with monsters. Slashes are okay and stuff. I like watching them, but I like making monsters.
Yeah.
Anything with creatures.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. It's playing on fears that you have in your life, of a hand underneath the bed or a monster in your closet, and just hitting those things. It's like I watch horror movies and I'm like, scare me. You know, like I'm so excited. Like I don't want to put down a movie, but this movie called Goodnight Mommy. Did you see Goodnight Mommy?
No, I have
it's
not.
A foreign film.
It's in black. Is it like with the two little kids?
Yeah, with the two little kids, not black and white though.
I didn't watch it, but I have it on my queue.
Got it. Well, not to ruin it for you, but when I saw that trailer, I'm like, oh my God, this is the scariest trailer I've ever seen. It hit me. So for me, I'm like, I got to watch this alone in the dark. Like that's the way I had to do it because I'm like, I got to test myself. And then the joke, and I don't want to put it down, but it's very much a foreign movie, very slow, very much art house. And I was like, no, you know, but the key is I'm watching the movie like, come on, get me. Like I'm dying to get like, you know, where I want those nightmares, but it didn't.
All right, I got a good movie for you that sounds cheesy and the cover looks cheesy, but it's an awesome movie. It's called Blood Glacier.
Glacier.
It's like, yeah, but it's awesome. It's like
I'm gonna write it down. Blood
Food
Glacier.
of the Gods, but it's like a Nordic movie. You know, it's in a different language, but it's cheesy looking, like the cover and stuff. But I watched it just because I thought, oh, and it was awesome.
You know, look, I love foreign horror. I'll go out of my way to find it. And I had this moment where, you know, maybe a couple months, and I kept watching all these foreign horror movies, and I found one in Spain that I loved so much, and it was so scary that I reached out to the producers and said, can I remake this in the US? And the funny story is we got down to negotiating the deal, just the remake rights, because I thought, man, it was going to be good. And can you believe Guillermo del Toro came in and bought the rights? And I was like, well, I guess I was on the right track. So
you were on the right track.
I'm like, I would have chosen him too.
What movie was it? What movie?
I guess I could say it. It was called Julia's Eyes, but it was about a woman whose sister is killed by an unseen person, but they both have this degenerative condition where they're slowly going blind, and trauma is making them go more blind. So through the movie, like, you know, she's getting less and less sight and trying to put together this mystery of who killed her sister, but nobody can see. And man, it was scary. There's a scene in the shower that was one of the scariest, creepiest scenes I'd seen. And so I just wanted to make it, but then he came in and he decided he wanted to make it.
That means that you have good instinct, though.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I should say this: we took so my Glasshouse company is mostly films that are have some cast and are sellable movies to, you know, maybe like right below the A-list. They're not gonna have Matthew McConaughey in them, but they're gonna have Jane Lynch and, you know, Patrick Fabian.
More like Vision films, because IT is great, but Vision films is
direct competitor with Vision. Yeah, and so. But then we created a label called Bloodhouse Films. So if you go to bloodhousefilms.com, and it's just for horror movies. So Bloodhouse, so it's like we're taking everything. And so we just partnered with a company in Canada called Dark Side Releasing. It was in Variety. And my buddy Vince D'Amato, who runs that company. And so then any horror film that we take automatically gets the release in Canada through Dark Side, DVD as well. And he does Blu-rays and all that stuff, and VOD. And then the films that we take in the US, we just release to the platforms. And we're picking up more and more platforms. I won't say what's going to happen, but there's a horror journalist type person that we may hire to run that platform for us, which would be really cool. You would know his name, but I don't want to say it yet.
Okay, don't say it yet.
But anyway, bottom line is, you know, so for horror films, we just wanted to create that opportunity that was really focused, and people could come and see those movies and find them. Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
The Walking Dead was part of the reason why my show exploded the way it did.
Oh, okay.
Because The Walking Dead actually brought horror to the mainstream more than anything else ever has.
Yeah.
And that's why, because our show was like small, and before Walking Dead came on, you could get almost any actor. It is so hard to get any of those Walking Dead people. I'm not going to tell you how much they charge, but man, they make more at the shows than they do on their movies.
That's it. No, they could do the right horror film and get the right audience, and they could make that.
Because John Russo, the writer of Night of the Living Dead, and he still comes to the show. He makes money every time. He does one or two movies you make. If they're good, you can live on it.
Well, no, it's great. And I've tried to make movies with those guys. I mean, I had a movie going with Tom Holland, not Spider-Man, the other, who directed.
The director Tom Holland.
Yeah. Child's Play, Fright Night, Psycho 2, Thinner, Langoliers, and he was. We became really close, and we had a movie that we were developing and had it financed, and then that financing fell apart. Same thing with Joe Dante. I had a movie with him called Air Disturbance, and we were casting it. I mean, we were down to casting, and it was just, for whatever reason, it fell apart. But he was signed, and so it's like I've had horror legends signed on to do projects. But again, with any project, it's like you're just these days, and really for a while, it's just trying to. All the right elements have to come into play, and just with the movie I had with Tom Holland was called Killing Frank. it was like pushing this gigantic rock up a hill. And when sooner or later, years ago, I used to just push it until it got to the top no matter what. And,
That's
you know,
me.
destroying relationships and destroying my life in the process. Now it's like, if the rock's too big, I'm like, nah, it's all right.
I know.
That rock. I don't want to do
Age
it.
does that to us, you know. We're wiser now, much wiser.
I'd rather have the rock that just slides up the hill and it's like, hey, that was easy. I'd rather do that. So I'm searching for that rock always.
That's awesome. No, that's cool.
What have you been doing to kill time during this? Anything, you know, related to just your personal, like, what do you have going on?
Yeah, well, I mean,
not in the movie world or anything.
Okay,
right.
Well, I mean, look at the movie world for me. It's still, you know, most of the stuff is us delivering films to VOD, signing films, negotiating with films. So it's like that has not changed. I have not slowed down. And then as well, I have the filmmaking membership site, which has not changed as well. I record videos. I have a studio downstairs. It's like, so we're less in video. So we're always putting out new content and stuff like that. And that's actually increased as well because people are sitting at home learning stuff. You pay a monthly fee and you can have access. It's like hundreds and hundreds of hours of videos that me and my partner in that business had recorded about every aspect of movies. As far as personal stuff, it's like, look, besides, you know, because I'm so busy, there's only been a couple little things that I can do here and there. I have a comic book that I'm writing. I did this with that Badass Girls film. I turned it into a graphic novel, and that's just being completed right now. So I thought, I'd like to do that again. And so it's kind of, you know, let's describe it as an indie, edgy superhero comic. And that's what I just thought that's kind of a fun thing that I'd never done before, to make a comic book and have my name on it, which I already do from the Badass Girls. It's a 5-part comic series, and I have the first one made. So that was kind of fun. And the whole thing is written. It's just now the designer sends me pages and I approve the pages and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, fun thing is I'm writing a whole new superhero edgy comic. So there it is.
Oh, that's cool. What about your personal life? I think that's what he meant too. Are you in New York or California? Are you both? Are you quarantined there?
Tom doesn't like about his personal life. He, you know, it's very.
I'm a train wreck.
I don't need to know anything else because I got shit going on my own. I don't need to know anything else.
No. I mean,
where you're located in both areas.
I am. I'm kind of both. But right now it's New York. You know, last year I did 17 times back and forth, if you can believe it. 17 New York, LA trips. And I'm such a flyer. Last year, I mean, this year I was in Berlin, but last year I was in Berlin. I was in Cannes twice. I was in Toronto, and I'm missing some other foreign place that it's escaping me right now. But anyway, so I'm always in a plane. So for me, that's the biggest change, is that I'm not on a plane. Like, that's freaking me out. I'd say 5 years since since a month has gone by without me being on a plane. So that's weird. But I have my daughter Ella is 15 and my son Tyler's 13. And so they're here, and
in New York. They're in New York.
Yeah, they're here, and so they are with me, and they're just bored, really, I guess, at the end of the day. But other than that, there's no other personal life. I can't have a personal life right now.
I have my youngest son is 11, and he's with me. So
fun.
Awesome. Yeah. We hope to have you back here because it's nice here actually still. Yeah. And our numbers are going way down.
Yeah. What do you mean numbers? As far as people moving out?
The virus. The virus. Our numbers we've been knocked down to like number 6 or 7 now.
Oh, great.
Because everyone else is rising, so our numbers are working. Us staying home getting stir crazy is working.
Yeah. Well, I'd say this. You know, you always try to look at the opportunities. And for me, you know, Variety just had a thing that VOD is up 30%. And it's like, well, that's great. That's what we do. That's my business, is VOD. So it's like 30% increase is fantastic. I think as well, you know, I have some films that are in development that we had in the past, and other new ones, is that when you hit the top of the mountain and starts to, because it's got to hit the peak and then it's going to start coming down. So right now is not the time, except for doing soft development. But when I say you're about 70% through this, like meaning the decline on everything, people are getting more healthy, that's when you got to strike. I believe that actors at that time will be like, yeah, I'll do it, because they hadn't been working. So you're going to get probably bigger cast than you would have gotten in the past. And that's the time to really strike and make something great. So
yeah, and I was telling everyone in the business, because everyone's worried. I said, there's going to be a lot of work. My son, he got furloughed at Light Iron, but they have so much stuff backing up. Because they do all the cable shows, the big cable shows. So everything is going to just go gangbusters as soon as it opens up. So,
that's great.
You know, anything. And of course, we have stuff in development, just so you know.
Great. keep it in mind.
Yeah.
Well,
and you were going to do a movie with Ray Wise, right? Did you do?
I did. That's there's some poster somewhere in the corner. Yeah, I did a movie. He played my dad. It was called Shattered.
Because he was supposed to come to my show. I was so excited to meet him because he was scheduled for my show. And he's now rescheduled for July, but I don't even know if we can do it July.
Yeah. Well, one of the nicest guys. I mean, it's like I love those old character actor guys. Funny enough, I'm more impressed with meeting them than the bigger stars, because I will tell you that the bigger stars I get very competitive with. Like, meaning if I'm doing a scene with Chris Pratt, I'm like, I'm better than you. Like, that's what's going through my head. Versus a guy that's been like Ray Wise in 500 movies. Right. I'm like, dude, you're awesome. And him playing my dad and me like going at it. There was a couple of scenes where we were yelling at each other. Loved it. I could do that all day of the week. And it's not a competitive thing in that regard at all. It's more like, let's play on that field. So he's great. Again, one of those guys too that you say his name, people may not know him from the name only, but then you Google him and you go like I have.
That guy.
My friend Peter Jason's the same way. Larry Hankin, Peter Jason from Deadwood, and Larry Hankin from from Seinfeld. He was the guy that played Kramer when they did the show within the show.
I know.
He was an alphabet killer with me. It's like he's my favorite person from that entire movie. And we were still friends. He was in Breaking Bad. I mean, he's a legend. And those guys, you have to Google them. And then once you Google them, you go, oh, this guy. Yeah, I love this guy. Those are my favorites.
Like our friend Mossy.
Yeah, he's my friend too. Yeah, he's
and also Max Martini. He's another guy that's like that.
I don't know Max very well. Our kids went to preschool together, if you can believe it. But I would just see him and say hi. And he also trained. He was a fighter guy. Like I would see him at the gym and stuff like that, training at Eddie Bravo's. But I never got close to him. But yes, another character guy that's been in a ton.
Yeah, because both of them were the first time would have been at my show doing a convention. So you got to come out to the convention because I had all these different marketing ideas for Stuart, and he's not following through with it. So if you're interested,
and this is in Detroit, then it's in Detroit. Great, I have great friends, 2 great friends in Detroit, and where I am in New York, it's drivable, maybe about 5 hours.
It's going on its 12th year. It's an international film festival too, so I get movies from all over the world. That's what Stuart wanted with me, was a pipeline.
Ah, great. Well, cool. Let's definitely talk. I would love
Which is cool. Yeah, so I haven't talked to him. Him and Nicole are busy doing whatever they do. But he's a good guy. I do like him, but he doesn't like to spend any money. Unless he has to. He's like really tight.
We're talking trash now, but he said to me, if you have any scripts, I can make them into movies. And I said, what does that mean? He says, well, we'll fund the movie maybe $30,000 or so, and then I own the whole movie. I go, wait a minute, you're gonna give me $30,000, you're gonna own the whole movie. I go, what advantage is that to me? And he goes, well, you get the movie made. I go, dude, you're joking, right? Like I've never made a movie that low, and 2, I make my own movies, and like I have a major piece of them. That's ridiculous.
Right, but he has
a
bunch of people doing that, because I interviewed a bunch of them, and one of them is doing a killer flip-flop movie. In Asian culture also too, but in Latino culture, your grandma used to follow you and hit you with it, or and that's kind of like a thing. It's like a cultural thing. I'm like, oh my God.
The people die of annoyance. They die of like, all right, I'm sick of this. I'm out of here. They kill themselves, but that's how it works. He's trying to be like, Malcolm Golem or one of those guys. If you ever see the documentary Electric Boogaloo about the Cannon films and the history of
Cannon, yes.
Yeah. They did all those movies in the 80s, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. You would love it. But
Avi Lerner came up through that.
He's a friend of mine. Yeah, I just saw him in Berlin. I've had meetings with him. He's a weird guy. And,
he doesn't like women as much. He's a little different with me.
The meeting, he was like, it's tough to get him to even crack a smile. And then I told him about my divorce, and then he was like, oh yeah, and then suddenly he's my best friend. But it's like, fine, I finally got him. But
finally got him.
Yeah, we just saw each other at the same hotel in Berlin. And he was able to grow up with those guys. He was young when they were huge. But it's a great documentary. But these are guys that back then, when there was VHS, you could make a movie for $3 million with Christian Slater in it, and you could sell it for $6 million like that. And they did about 100, and they were shit movies. My friend Peter Foley has a story of literally walking into Malakham's with a script, and like the guy in front tried to stop him. We don't take scripts. And Malacham heard from the office and said, come in here, let me look at this script. He had a big Israeli accent. Yep. And Peter pitches him the script. Peter had never directed before, and he goes, okay, fine, here, I'll give you $3 million, you go shoot this. And literally, that's how he started his directing career. I'm not kidding, it's a true story.
Wow. Okay, Jim, let's go meet that guy.
Yeah. Well, he's dead, but yeah, but that's the way it
rest in peace, buddy.
That's, that's part of the reason I started making movies was because of the Sean Cunningham story.
Yeah,
and it was about him just getting the money just off a poster for Friday.
Yes, I love that. Sean. I met Sean finally only like last year. There's some picture of Facebook.
He's a great guy. He's
a very nice guy, and it's like that you used to be able to do that, but now I don't want to say it's point to the good times and say it's not that. You have to be more creative now,
right?
As far as getting it. Now. The best part about today is that you can do a lot more for less money. Like when we did The Attic. We had 600,000 or so, and that was like a student film. Like people were thinking like we had all these students on set because people were still used to the big salaries. There was still DVD then, like the mini films were the $2 million films. Now the mini films are $100,000. They look better than the $2 million films used to look. So you could do more for less. That's a positive, but you have to be more creative as far as how you're going to give back. So
Yep. Cool.
Awesome.
Tom, thank you so much, man. I truly appreciate you on here. I hope you want to do it again with us too.
For sure. Yeah, we want to circle back around with everybody and just start talking about other things because there's so much.
Yes.
To
I love it. I love talking about stuff. When I did the Alphabet Killer DVD, the other party that did the commentary was in another location in a group, and I was alone. So I did my commentary alone. And the guy that comes in, he says, well, it's going to be tough for you to talk the whole movie. He says, so when you need to take a break, let me know, and we'll brainstorm, think about some stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay. And he rolled, and I went all the way through, and I was literally at the end, like speeding it up because I was forgetting. And he goes, I've only seen one other person. I was like James Mangold or somebody it was the only other person he's seen did that without even taking a breath. So as far as talking about movies, I think I'm pretty good.
I said, what are we going to talk about? He goes, don't worry, Tom will talk about everything.
You usually have to stop me from talking is usually the thing. So.
No, I was telling Tommy, I'm like, Tom's got so much stuff. He's got this great, you have a great energy about you, the positivity and the charisma, dude. But that, and I'm just letting you know that you're pretty awesome, and I appreciate it.
And of course, we love to meet other producers. So thank you for your time, and we will be in touch because we're going to do business together.
Yeah, it sounds great to me. Sounds great to me. I love it. Awesome.
Talk to you about our scripts, man. Hey, you have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Take care.